So, I'm gonna be honest. When I was growing up and swapping through arcade sites while bored at home on the fam computer, I was jumping sites near, like, hourly? I could start off on Cartoon Network playing some Powerpuff Girls Flash games, get bored, see what SpongeBob machination Nick came up with next, get bored again, and decide screw it. I'm a teenager who can distinguish fact and fiction. Let's play some adult games. So I'd go to Adult Swim. You may think that's not much better, but they had some bangers on there. House of Dead Ninjas, Robot Unicorn Attack, and the Amateur series, which was way more expensive than I think it really deserved to be, were my jam back in the day. Of course, I was a fiend for the Amateur series, even though my ass was squeamish at the wasp that was stuck inside one patient. No spoilers. But watching the little heart monitor guy run was funny. Great as it was to play these games, I was a console goblin, so I'd eventually get sick of Caligula Walking Sim 2, Caligula Goes to Hell, and Stealth Walking Sim, Ninja in the Office. Since I had only just started to use the mouse in my gaming ventures, I was a really boring PC gamer back in the day, until I became like 14, so I'd head off to the basement to play some Wretched Deadlocked again with my brother. Honestly, whenever I cared to check their gaming ventures would usually be around 1 to 3 a.m. while I'm not within my right mind and using their channel as background noise while I game and or do other adult things. See what I did there? So when I was in college with a battle-tested Switch, begging for games, earnable income because I was a Google librarian, and a nicely burnt-in history of that, all of that, flashing through my mind whenever I hear Adult Swim games now. You could imagine my suspicion upon seeing this ad while I was very drunk. Seriously, like when I saw this for the first time, I was alone in my room watching Family Guy or something, drunk. So seeing Adult Swim brand this under their publishing label rose my doubt to the highest planes of Valhalla. Every single title they had published or made up to this point had been some weird or edgy sense of dark humor that would make you play it like a car crash. It's so disturbing or raunchy that you can't help but be curious about it. This game doesn't look nor play like that. I mean, I was expecting this one to take such a dive. I was hugging a pillow and buckled into the couch, my eyes scanning the screen a la Junko doing math in her head. Battle Chef Brigade is a 2D hack-and-slash story platformer where you combine the aspects of puzzle combat, semi-current day visual novels, and DMC to bejewel together some scrumptious dishes to be judged by a panel of 1 to 3 legendary chefs. So you know, it's Fantasy Iron Chef the video game. Being a budding chef who grows weary of her limited provincial life, you, as Mina, set out into the big city to make a name for yourself amid the Battle Chef Brigade, an elite group of chefs and warriors who protect the realm from disaster and discover the secrets of cooking, sorcery, alchemy, and buffing through damn good food. You see why I was so wary about this game? That sounds dope.
That sounds too badass and serious.
You said under your breath, probably paraphrased, but it was something along those lines. Well, just know that with their history, I was skeptical of what this game could hold. The story is fantastical and amazing, the food images made me want to learn how to cook at the time, and the gameplay is stupidly addictive. So in the story, you play as Mina with little to no deviation from her as the story centers around her as the protag. But if we swap over to local multi, the roster gets shown. So of course we're going to be starting off with Mina is a rogue-style chef who uses the power of wind and speed to flurry her enemies. Thrash is a berserker with a rage form that he can use to execute powerful damaging hits and combos. Ziggy is a necromancer who has a passion for fast food and undead buddies to balance his reach. So you pick a character in Battlefield and get loaded into a biome filled with fantastical flora, frightful fauna, and a kitchen. In these seats will sit the judges who will be residing over the cook-off. A creature of the battle is named, and each judge will specify an elemental preference for their dish of the dance. It's up to players to expertly combine all of these aspects as best they can for their dishes, because each judge is going to be residing over their own dish. By murking monsters that contain or harness those elements in cold blood, cooking them up in a skillet or oven of your choice, in a clever move that the monster hunters have coined as research, you do so by running around, hacking, slashing away at monsters who are minding their own, and collecting flora that can, on one case, cut you back. Filling your little hip bag with the ensuing ingredients. They're ingredients for food, then making Asuna proud by rushing back to play the hidden puzzle fighter of the game. You mix and match together 3 of the same element to level those elemental crystals up. As they level up, you'll see your dish develop, starting as a bunch of ingredients in a skillet and turning into a rather delectable looking snack you would probably eat for yourself if given the chance. You do this on repeat until you get a dish result that you're happy with for each judge. Carve up a bunch of beasties, rush back to the kitchen, check the recs if needed, repeat. It's a game loop that helps break up the potential slog of upsetting pita and matching crystal trios till you have vertigo and eye ache. Especially if you're like me and see the training mode as a playground. Speaking of playground, there were other taste gems that were taken out of the game that would help assist you in making specific dishes and harm you if you left them in. Mold used to grow throughout a dish as you stirred if you didn't chop it out. Doughy gems would be needed for some dishes. There was also another red sauce that looks a bit darker than normal red sauce. Surprised I didn't try to make a green sauce, but earth is everywhere to be honest. Some tools can give you special bonuses for making combos while cooking, leaving bonus spots in your cookware. Leave a gem there that's not level 3 and it'll go up 1 evolution after the time bar expires. One tool is literally made to do only this, because everything tastes better when it's grilled. Sure, there's a limit on how good a dish can get because, duh, but each one can go through many stages or flat out change in the middle of cooking to a whole nother dish. Kinda like real life. Again, since I'm talking about multiplayer, I might as well mention that players can fight each other outside of the kitchen, find resources growing a bit low, or the other player crossing sides, and you can fight for breakfast like Margot Robbie in white foundation and bisexual hair dye. Be wary of what you do in the kitchen, as creatures can be affected by blights and poison sacs can degrade your food, or make it just straight up unpalatable. Blight animals have poison sacs that need to be disposed of, lest they taint some of your food blocks, making them fragile and prone to destruction when stirred. Also, it's gonna look like you want to kill the judges, lol. Also, go easy on your rampage. Some creatures can cave into their void call and just stroll into your strikes. So you'll probably feel bad when you're trying to hunt down a Corana and end up, nixing Nugget Cheap G. Don't look at those chicken breasts back there. There's plenty of tools and items you can choose to cook and create, as well as adjust your character skills and play with. The main majority of these items are earned throughout the story too, or bought, but that's not for here in this video. Giving you a rather depth playground to test these items in before multiplayer, since, wow, these items are very many. So many, in fact, that there are a few that don't appear in the story, nor the shops, and can add some ways to mix up your play against CPUs or a buddy to use in challenges. The game effectively has a couple of games hidden within, as you spend most of the cook time brawling and beating up monsters that probably want you out. The orb spinning is kind of just one part of the puzzle. So, Trinket Studios decided to lean into each with these challenge modes. Daily Cook-Off is a daily challenge selected from a pool of online challenges that you can high score rush through. You select a character and the game picks out an opponent and a loadout for you to use, as well as a field and judges to preside over the battle. Survival gives the player a playground, a monster, a few items, and a crystal goal. Players then set amongst the playground to fix up a dish that fits the star and ingredient criteria before time runs up. Should they succeed, they can move on roguelite style by getting some items and upgrades. Be careful though, because one failure means back to the start. Honestly, sometimes you hop in and can't continue due to the environment, or a monster beats you booty frame 5 instead of 1 because that's when your counter window ends. Restaurant Rush tasks the player with matching the crystal pattern that people are ordering for the day. These are quick mix puzzles that are meant to test your speed and puzzle copying instead of solving. Most of these can be solved in one move, but as you pack on and time runs down, you'll need to build these dishes almost from scratch with blinding speed. Hard mode puts this analogy into overdrive, as you now need to make orders with 2x3 arrangements instead of 2x2, effectively making you have to craft an S input on screen or abandon the dish to make another one instead. Dish Break gives the player a character and a battlefield to speed through and break various ceramic dishware. There's 2 for each character. Yeah, this is basically time attack, as each challenge is named after the gimmick of the character they've chosen for you. And lastly, we have free play. It's pretty self-explanatory. You choose the rules and areas in which you'll hunt and cook, the character you play as, and what judges will be there. The opponent roster will feature every possible one from the story alongside the other 2 as playables. Thing is, you can only brawl out in multiplayer, not the challenges. Less thugging in the streets and more bougie kitchen chic, TBH. Makes sense since these are still being role-played as officiated matches that take place in the game's canon, since this is basically what the BCB type beat is in full. You can set how much effort the CPU will give, choose who it'll be, tell the big bougies of the BCB who can and can't show up, how many of them can show up, and you can even tell the monsters, please, no hurt, am a friend. Or, bring on your multi-necked lava worm. I got the teachings of Phil and Syx on my side. Then there's the most important option on the board. Enable mutations. Turning this on lets random monsters become infected with blight, making their ingredient parts come with the additive of poison, which while negative as a concept opens up different strategies in cooking and tool selection, as poison can be matched together like bone to make wild cards that match each element. Only, the poison actually makes bonus spots. Just be careful of how many moves it takes to match 3 toxins, otherwise you'll have a 9-square explosion to deal with. And too many poisonous incidents can destroy your dish as gems become fragile and break when moved too many times, literally reducing your dish to atoms. Any points you net in these modes increase your brigade rank and unlock gallery stuff for you to gawk at in your off time. 3 playable characters, each with a different playstyle and different dishes that they can make with ingredients. If it wasn't for the fact that these JPEGs weren't locked to each person, this wouldn't be a section, to be honest with you. There's also the fact that they each come with their own weapons, so that's another thing. Mina, being a rogue from a mom and pop shop, and the main character, her dishes will always have something with that homey restaurant feel. She's blindingly fast with her dual chef knives and daggers ready to be thrown. Her Dominion of Wind can hold rather fleet-footed monsters with her Tornado, and her Wind Dash can be used to avoid danger, or literally go nothing personal kid to some enemies. Quick on the grounds as she is in the kitchen, her speed is definitely felt in spinning and cutting up dishes during prep. Careful on the cutting board though, because she slices as fast as you match, and I've lost quite a few important ingredients to my Alpha Rat subscription. I'm not kidding. Thrash is an orc berserker who hails from the forager homey style of chefry. His dishes carry a rustic and earthy feel, even for dishes that don't even have so much as a blade of grass. While out on the hunt, this beefy granddad wields a single blade of Athena. Wields a single blade named Pele. His strength is felt in each hit and swing, carrying the power of a captain and a counter that would make Roy flinch. His down grab leads foes into the heavens, and his upward knee makes him soar like a falcon. He isn't only rocking power and meme recognition either. Find some ingredients that you don't really require, you can feed them to Pele, gain 3 charges, and you can activate your berserker form, doubling your hit strength and overall speed. Oh yeah, he also breathes fire. Ziggy is a centuries-old necromancer with a bunch of undead buddies at his beck and call. Able to wield the same dark fire that my brother came up with, he's the balanced bonus character that I needed in this game. Instead of a dash, he abandons the concept of friction and slides through the forest like me in capcut whenever I decide to get cutesy with keyframes. His moves reflecting that same usage of momentum as he spins and slashes fiend and foe to ribbons. Should he lack in the combo division, he can summon undead cohorts to help out. Demons, fae, and of course the weapon-toting Skelebro can be summoned with a direction and a tap of the mana button. Fighting quick is what he does because his gimmick is fast food, which is reflected in all of his dishes. Each one looking less like something you can whip up at home and more like the niche items that you find at certain fast food chains by studying the online menus out of curiosity or boredom. Okay, enough gushing. Why are we here? There hasn't been another game like BCB. I mean, there's puzzle fighters and other puzzle games with quirky mechanics, as well as food fighters that have like their cute little mechanics that they do, but nothing where you have to leave the puzzle combat area to swap for real combat and vice versa. At first I thought, maybe I'm just exaggerating. No, there really hasn't been a game like that I've heard of, or that I was able to Google or look up on YouTube. I went to Reddit on this one, and I got a war game with no hack and slash. You ain't cooking shit. No, let me cook, bro. I think you mean let you tinker, dog. Which is insane to think about, because I'm pretty sure me and a whole section of Mortal Kombat fans would get busy in puzzle combat. This formula is so inviting for so many different types of gamer. I have friends who abandoned Smash for Tetris and other games, have probably not played a second of Mortal Kombat, but would probably beat the blue out of me in Puzzle Combat, or Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, or out-chef me in the Battle Kitchen and in real life. Honestly, when I look at this formula, you could combine certain game modes together and oh hey, that's a new idea. Seriously, take a game like Potion Craft. Don't leave. This makes sense. In Potion Craft, you aren't allowed to progress the day until you either serve or kick out all your patrons. You have all the time in the world to go into your shop, faff about for a bit, screw up the potion that they asked for, mess with your magic spice carton, stare at your decrepit basement, write a letter back home, and give the person the lesser potion of the effect they asked for. And an entire hour could have passed for you IRL, but not your alchemist or your patrons. Time stops until you kick everyone out. Now let's make a premise. Same thing, only it's a food shop, kind of like a corner store. Instead of no time limit, make it so that if you take too long to take the order, a person leaves. Instead of picking ingredients in the morning from your garden when you start, keep the fighting and foraging and make the backyard lead into a forest. If that sounds familiar. Split these roles so you have a character foraging and a character cooking at all times. Boom, couch co-op and story swap points. Make it so that that chef is constantly experimenting with dishes to satisfy customers' tastes, making the alchemy table a kitchen lab. I mean, hang on, there's that deja vu again. Could even add in other characters that help improve your crafting, hunting, and collecting in exchange for sharing your journey. I take all those characters and split them amongst roles for a 2 to 4 multiplayer mode, and if you have a story mode, give them their own little chapters or missions.
Hey, how did you have the accompanying deal with all of that?
Because all I did was outline several aspects and character traits from the story that could be taken and put elsewhere. So next I look up the devs, who have been semi-inactive since BCB dropped on all platforms when the Switch was released. Alright, Universe, you mean to tell me that these devs basically combined 2 genres earlier than Nintendo could accidentally parlay 2 near opposite franchises and no other games came from it? I'm not even looking at the Trinket team with this question. How has no other dev team decided that Eggman's Mean Beam Machine would look sick if Sonic spin-dashed Eggman during a high combo? You mean to tell me that Sonic Team, Epic Games, Sega, Nintendo, Atlas, and even freaking Capcom didn't see money in fighting games that operate on columns, Candy Crush, and Bejeweled? Wasn't there a whole business arc where publishers were prioritizing games for veterans and noobs? Didn't Battle Network inspire a whole new game system? I don't know about you, but arranging blocks is way easier than memorizing and executing directional button input combos or teleporting around a grid and balancing attack options that I have to spend points to even use. This is all under that same point I made in the beginning. This game isn't screwing with you. When it was made during years where the publisher was actively picking certain projects to mess with its player base on each game released. Adult Swim games back in the day didn't care if you just had fun. You were supposed to laugh. This is the first time ADG gave to something that wasn't just raunchy. It's pure epic and story-rich and paved way for a new genre of game. Do you even know the sheer amount of tile match games that are just, hey, connect 3 and nothing else? I can't get a moment to do a little platform challenge so that I can find more stuff. You have to fight or cultivate the ingredients I'm using to make bigger color combos. I'm just saying, this genre of game has the potential to unite tile matching, 1v1 fighting, hack and slash, and resource management gamers in a strange but possibly welcome union that hasn't been seen since 2020 AD/BC. Thanks for listening to this nonsense. I've been scrubbing the internet for strange games to say to rather specific game craving I've been having. Watched Mr. GG go through MKD and we got a memory bomb of me and my brother needing puzzle and chess combat on games. Then I went looking for games similar to it and saw this one. Cue up another memory bomb of how I became obsessed with dumplings. Anyways, I came up with that game premise in 5 minutes. The hardest part of this whole thing was referencing the building blocks without spoiling the story in any way, shape, or form, TBH. Even though the game is a first grader now. Like this video, share with other puzzle gamers, comment below if you think there could be a niche for this genre of not fighter / shop owner, and until whenever I post next, if you think of a potential sequel to this game, like the story is too awesome and the world is too spectacular to just be limited to one title.